Okay, Aventurine Waveflair is just around the corner. He's an Elation DPS, but what's interesting about him is that he is not completely locked into Elation teams. He can also work as follow-up attack, which gives him a lot more flexibility than you might expect. So in this video, we are going to go through everything you need to know about Aventurine Waveflair. We will cover his kit, best relics and planar ornaments, light cones, which eidolons are actually worth getting, and of course, his best teams and teammates. Before we continue, please hit the like and subscribe button. Now if you have done that, let's get this video started. Let's just briefly recap his kit and know what he is capable of. I already provided the timestamp so you could skip this section if you want. Aventurine is primarily Elation character, but his kit also lets him function as a strong follow-up attack DPS, and even pseudo buffer when he is not paired with other Elation units. His skill deals damage and gives him 4 punchline and 4 fervor stacks, with a maximum of 30 fervor. Fervor is his main resource, determining when his follow-up attack triggers and how much damage it deals. His ultimate deals damage, gives 6 punchline and 8 fervor, and increase his speed by 30% for 4 turns. Through his talent, both abilities deals elation damage, while in certified banger state, every ally attack gives Aventurine 1 fervor and 1 punchline. Once he reaches 10 fervor, he triggers his follow-up attack or elation skill, which consumes 20 punchlines. Afterward, his next elation skill becomes enhanced through Aha Instant, gaining additional hits based on the amount of fervor consumed. Take note that using this enhanced attack clears all fervor stacks. His technique deals damage, gives 2 fervor, and starts him with 20 certified banger stacks, allowing his elation damage to get going earlier. His traces heavily reward speed and team synergy. One give him 30% elation damage at 140 speed, with another 1% for every speed point above 140, up to 340. Another gives him additional 80% elation damage when paired with other elation characters, as well as giving them 20% elation. Without other elation units, his elation still instead count as follow-up attack. He also gains certified banger and punchline stacks whenever allies attack, while Aha receives 25 speed until its enhanced action occurs. Finally, another trace gives Aventurine 48% crit damage, which becomes a team-wide crit damage buff for 3 turns whenever ally use ability. Those abilities also give Aventurine extra fervor up to 6 times before the counter resets when he uses his skill. So, in short, Aventurine is mainly Elation unit who builds fervor and punchline through ally attacks to unleash increasingly powerful follow-up and enhanced Elation attacks. But outside of Elation teams, he can still work as a strong follow-up sub DPS and provide meaningful crit damage support. Now let's talk about his relics and planar ornaments. For Aventurine's Waveflair, you are mostly going to want the usual Elation relic sets we have been using, which is the Magical Girl. You can also consider the Genius set since it can provide up to 20% defense ignore when the enemy is Quantum Weakness. But once you look at that 20%, and you will notice the Magical Girl can also provide a similar amount. So personally, I would just stick with Magical Girl. For planar ornaments, there's not much option left since his damage is elation. My main recommendation would be Pang Lord. For his body, I would recommend crit rate over crit damage pretty much every time. This is mainly because of his kit and the amount of crit damage buffs he already receives. He gets so much crit damage naturally that you will need enough crit rate to actually make use all of it. For his boots, speed is the obvious choice. You need at least 140 speed to activate the elation bonus from his traces. After that, you can aim for 160 speed as another potential breakpoint, but that's completely optional. For the rope, energy regen is the way to go since you will want to get his ultimate back as quickly as possible, and using attack is quite less effective since his damage is going to be scaled with elation. For the planar spears, you have quite a few options. You can use HP, attack, or even a damage bonus depending on what you are looking for. Since most of his damage comes from elation, which is not affected by many of the usual damage buffs, going for something like HP or defense is not necessarily a bad idea. And if you want something safer and more universally useful without giving up too much damage, HP and defense are the way to go. For your substats, the first thing I would focus on is reaching at least 140 speed so you can activate his elation buff. After that, focus on your crit stats as much as possible. Beyond that, there is not really another major stat priority you need to worry about. And with that, let's move on to his light cones. For his nature light cone, Summarize the Surf is the best of course. It gives him 18% crit rate. Whenever Aventurine uses elation skill, he gains the hype stack, increasing his speed by another 20% on top of the 30% speed he already gets from his kit. If the elation skill he uses is different from the previous elation skill he used, Basically meaning he's switching from the normal version to enhanced version, he will also get the trance stack. This increases his elation damage by 36%. On top of that, at the beginning of every wave or after he uses elation skill 3 times, he restores 1 skill point for the team. So the lightcone also makes him somewhat more SP friendly. I would not call this the best or worst lightcone I've ever seen, but it's definitely something we can work around. Since his signature is so strong, it can be pretty valuable investment for your account. Thankfully, though we are getting more elation lightcones, one of the new options is a little gateway. At S1, it increases elation damage by 20%, going up to 40% at S5. Whenever they wear this elation skill, they also ignore 8% of target's defense, increasing to 16% at S5. That's a huge buff for elation character because defense ignore can increase basically every type of damage, while elation damage itself is a pretty difficult stat to obtain, especially if you don't have a dedicated elation buffer. So I would say a little getaway is actually one of the better options for Aventurine. But we still have some other choices. There's Shumi's Adventure, which is, well, always a really good option, especially at S5. It's also completely free to play, and honestly, it's one of those lightcones that just refuses to become bad. Another option I would recommend is Tomorrow Together, which was a free event lightcone. I'm not sure whether it's still obtainable, but if you already have it, it's a really good option for Aventurine. And if you don't have that one, you can always go for a little getaway, and if you don't have that either, Shumi's Adventure is completely free and can be brought all the way to S5. The Battle Pass Lightcone would probably sit around the second or third best option in terms of overall output. If you have the money and want to grab the Battle Pass Lightcone, go for it, but if you don't, that's completely fine. Unfortunately, Eidolons plays a pretty massive role in Aventurine's performance. He becomes significantly stronger and more versatile once you start investing into his Eidolons. Starting with E1, Aventurine gains 24% all tap last spend, while his talent follow-up attack can now trigger at 10, 20, and 30 stacks. Previously, it could only trigger at 10 stacks. E2 increases his maximum fervor stacks from 30 to 50. This allows his follow-up attack or elation skills trigger at 40 and 50 stacks. On top of that, his elation skill now gives him 4 additional fervor stacks. For most characters, E2 is already a reasonable stopping point, but for Aventurine specifically, I think it's one of his best stopping points, possibly even one of the best in the game. Honestly, it feels like his actual kit is hiding behind E2. So Aventurine's E2 is easily his best Eidolon. E1 is already enough for most, if not all players. And if I had to choose between his Eidolons and his signature lightcone, I would take E1 over S1 every single time. So if you are going to pair him with the Ashblade team, his E1 will have around 36% and above damage increase, while his S1 is only like 10%-ish. The only stat that matters from his signature lightcone is the additional speed, since Aventurine really need that to boost his elation. But after considering everything, his E1 is clearly the recommended one. And then if your Jades are enough for the second half banner, it is also recommended to go straight to his E2, without pulling his signature at all. This way your personal damage will have around 45% damage increase from his E0. So E2 S0 Aventurine Waveflair is very strong already, you don't even need his signature. His lightcone however could still be additional upgrade if you have enough Jades left. Now let's discuss his best teams or character synergies. For the sustain option, Hyacinth is easily the best choice. She already has fantastic synergy with Merchant X Blade, who really appreciates having a dedicated healer, while also contributing frequent attacks both during and outside her turn. Those extra actions generate even more stacks and energy for the whole team, making Hyacinth the best in-slot sustain for Aventurine SP, particularly in Ashblade composition. And we have Romancer as the next option if you don't have Hyacinth or somehow she ended up helping the other teams. Romancer offers a solid sustain. Surely Hyacinth is more preferred here since she can heal and blade to get consistent zone duration, but Romancer is not that bad at all. And now we have Woho, so these three are the best sustain options for now. So that's for the sustain. The best teammates for Aventurine Waveflair are Merchant X Blade and Ashvel, forming what could be his strongest follow-up team. Merchant X Blade has excellent synergy with Aventurine, especially when Aventurine is the only elation character. Blade provides plenty of debuffs that Aventurine can take advantage of, while his frequent follow-up attacks and ultimate help Aventurine build fervor much faster. Adding Ashvel makes the team even stronger. The three of them create a powerful core where everyone constantly fits into each other's mechanics. Ashfell and Blade provide universal buffs like defense reduction and vulnerability, while Ashfell's frequent out-of-turn attacks generate more fervor for Aventurine. Aventurine then returns to favor by generating more out-of-turn attacks, helping Ashfell recover energy and allowing Blade to trigger even more follow-ups and ultimates. Overall, the rotation looks extremely smooth with all three characters constantly enabling each other. Morton X Blade and Ashfell are essentially perfect partners for Aventurine Waveflair. But I think we should also consider Robin Samaredo in this composition. Robin provides many of the same premium level buffs you would expect from someone like Morton X Blade, while Aventurine's constant attacks help generate plenty of vibes for Robin in return. Their kits naturally complement each other. If you are missing either of Ashfell or Morton X Blade, Robin fits into that slot extremely well and can provide equally strong, if not even stronger, support for the team. Overall, she's easily one of Aventurine Waveflair's best teammates. Now let's talk about Jade, who is always interesting whenever a character takes a lot of actions. Since Aventurine constantly performs AoE attacks, he can feed Jade plenty of stacks, while Jade gives him extra 20 speed, which is obviously valuable for speed scaling DPS. Unfortunately, Jade's buff and personal damage just are not strong enough to push this pairing very far. In fact, it seems that there's a video showcasing this synergy in Pure Fiction, if I'm not mistaken. The team consists of Aventurine SP, Jade, and Blade and a Sustain. If she's what you have and you want to pair her with Aventurine there, it's going to work enough in specific scenario, but I would not call it a top tier combination. But Aventurine's flexibility is not just there, he is mainly going to shine alongside other Elation characters too, which makes sense considering he is Elation unit himself. Characters like Sparksy, Venetia, Super Wolf, Yao Guang, and Elation MC, and others can work really well with him. Of course, Yao Guang is going to be one of his most important teammates alongside Elation MC, since both of them can help trigger Elation skills for the team while also providing additional Elation buff. That benefits Aventurine directly by increasing his own damage, while his higher damage also helps the entire team. So I think that's all from Aventurine Waveflair build preparation video. Those are the things you need to take note if you want to be his main in the future. So tell me, how far are you willing to invest in Aventurine? Are you going to only pull his E0, E1, or maybe until his E2? Please tell me in the comment section. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button, turn on notification as well so you won't be missing out on any of my style content. I will see you guys on my next one. Bye bye!